Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into some absolutely fascinating sources that are going to completely challenge everything you think you know about sleep. For so long now, we've treated sleep like this incredibly strict one-size-fits-all formula, right? But it turns out there is a 300,000-year-old secret about our biology that might just change how you look at your bed tonight.
Let's start with a scenario that I'm pretty sure almost everyone watching has dealt with. Picture this. You suddenly jolt awake at 2 a.m. Your eyes spring open in the pitch black. You're staring up at that dark ceiling, and almost immediately you can feel your heart rate starting to tick up. You start stressing out, you're tossing and turning, and eventually you frantically grab your phone just to check the time, and boom, that dread sets in. You start doing the mental math on how few hours you have left before your alarm goes off, and you're just cursing your own brain, convinced you have terrible insomnia, and terrified about how exhausted you're going to be at work the next day. It's literally an agonizing experience. Okay, let's dive into this, because here is the massive paradigm shift our sources revealed today. Your body isn't broken at all. No way. What if I told you that for over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors experienced this exact same midnight wakefulness? That 2 a.m. wake-up isn't a glitch. It's not a malfunction. It's actually your body remembering exactly what it was built to do. We're going to unpack the history and the science behind this, and I promise you, it totally changes the definition of a bad night's sleep. Let's start with Section 1, the midnight wake-up myth.
That whole myth really comes down to one number, 8. We have all been sold this idea, this totally unnatural expectation, by the way, that a healthy human being is supposed to put their head on a pillow, pass out immediately, and sleep for 8 continuous, uninterrupted hours until the sun comes up. And if you wake up in the middle of that block, you're told there's something medically wrong with you. But when you zoom out and actually look back at the breadth of human history and evolutionary biology, that 8-hour block is actually a brand new modern invention.
Which brings us to Section 2, History of Two-Phase Sleep.
The story of uncovering this myth starts with a historian named Roger E. Eckertsch and this incredible 2001 paper he wrote that literally turned the world of sleep science upside down. And he didn't just stumble onto this over a weekend. He spent 16 years meticulously digging through historical records. We're talking 15th century prayer books, old court records, ordinary daily diaries, even ancient texts like Homer's Odyssey. And across all these centuries, he kept finding references to something super fascinating: first sleep and second sleep. Before the Industrial Revolution, people simply didn't sleep in one long block. Their nights were divided. They'd go to bed shortly after sundown, sleep for about 4 hours, and then they'd wake up for a solid 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night before going back to bed for their second sleep until dawn. Nobody called this insomnia. It was just how humans slept.
And during that middle-of-the-night awake period, which they commonly called the watch, they weren't just lying there feeling frustrated like we do today. Get this. A doctor's manual from the 1500s explicitly advised that this watch period was the absolute best time to study and reflect because your mind was perfectly calm and the whole world was completely still. People would use the time to interpret their dreams. They would literally get out of bed and go visit their neighbors in the middle of the night, or they'd sit and write. Actually, a 16th century French physician strongly recommended that couples use this specific window to conceive children, simply because they'd have way more natural energy after that first sleep.
All right, moving on to Section 3, the science of the watch.
Now you might be wondering, are our modern bodies still wired for this ancient schedule? Well, let's look at this absolutely fascinating 1992 experiment by a psychiatrist named Dr. Thomas Weir. He ran a hardcore sensory deprivation experiment. He took a group of volunteers and completely cut out all artificial light from their lives for an entire month. Every single night, these participants sat in 14 hours of total darkness, which perfectly mimicked the exact environment our ancestors lived in for hundreds of thousands of years.
And here's where it gets wild. Without any instructions, without anyone telling them when they should sleep or wake up, a profound biological shift happened. Within just a few weeks, every single participant naturally settled right back into that ancient two-phase rhythm. Their bodies literally hit a giant reset button. They'd sleep for 4 hours, wake up for a distinct, super quiet period of reflection in the middle of the night, and then naturally go back to sleep for 4 more hours. Their underlying biology completely overrode all their modern habits.
But here is the absolute craziest part: what was actually happening inside their brains during that middle-of-the-night awake time. When Dr. Weir measured their hormone levels, he made an incredible discovery. During the watch, those participants were in a unique state of consciousness that is completely unlike our normal waking state. Their brains were flooded with elevated levels of prolactin. Now, prolactin is the exact same hormone your brain releases during deep meditation. It brings on this immense sense of peace and reflection. So think about what that really means. By forcing ourselves to conform to this unbroken 8-hour sleep schedule, we haven't just changed our bedtime routines, we've accidentally eliminated an entire biological phase of human consciousness.
Section 4. How light stole our sleep.
So what the heck stole this magical, meditative time from us over the last few centuries? Well, the culprit is artificial light. The total darkness humans enjoyed for 300,000 years vanished in the blink of an eye. In the 1600s, major cities like Paris and London started putting up the very first street lamps. Then the ultimate turning point hit in 1879 when Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb. Suddenly, the sun going down didn't mean the day had to end. And fast forward to today, we are blasting our retinas with these incredibly bright smartphones at 11 p.m. In just a few short generations, we've fundamentally destroyed our relationship with darkness.
And guys, the biological consequence of that is actually really severe. When you flip on a light switch or stare at that blue light from your phone late at night, your body is completely tricked. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between that glowing artificial screen and the actual sun. Because it thinks it's still daytime, your brain aggressively shuts down melatonin production. This totally fragments and confuses the delicate evolutionary circadian rhythm that took millions of years to perfect.
But hey, the good news is that this ancestral programming isn't completely gone, it's just buried. Researchers have found a pretty stark contrast between our modern, artificially lit bedrooms and being out in nature. If you take a person out of their modern house and send them camping for just one single week, absolutely no artificial light, just relying on the sun and maybe a campfire, their body's melatonin cycle will rapidly and naturally reset itself. That 300,000 years of deep evolutionary programming just quickly reasserts itself, proving that this ancient rhythm is still right there inside us, just waiting for the right conditions. Let's wrap up with Section 5, Reclaiming Your Ancient Rhythm.
So the very next time your eyes dart open at 2 a.m., try doing this instead. First and foremost, stop stressing. Just stop fighting your own body. Second, whatever you do, please put down the phone. Don't blast yourself with artificial light and trick your brain into thinking the sun is up. Third, stop treating this wakeful period like it's some terrifying medical disorder or a personal failure on your part. And lastly, just enjoy the quiet reflection. Realize that your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's actually trying to give you a precious, ancient window of peace, a deep meditative state flooded with prolactin that your ancestors absolutely cherished. Embrace the watch.
So I want to leave you with a provocative question to ponder tonight. What are you going to do at 2 a.m. now that you know the truth? Are you going to lie there in frustration, or are you going to use that time to reflect, let your mind wander, and connect with a 300,000-year-old human tradition? If this explainer completely shifted your perspective on human biology and sleep, please hit that like button, subscribe for more fascinating deep dives into the science of who we are, and head down to the comments right now. I want to start a conversation. What have your midnight habits been, and how are you going to change them tonight? Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.